Daily Tech News Show is made possible by you, our listeners. Thanks to all of you, including Ali Sanjabi, AB Puppy, Dale McCahey, and everyone welcome our new patron, Jonathan. Yay. Welcome. On this episode of DTNS, our drone and flying taxi future inches along. Amazon's X-ray recaps wants to help you remember what happened on your favorite show last season. And if AI steps in when humans strike, what actually happens then? This is the Daily Tech News for Tuesday, November 5th, 2024. From Studio Animal House, I'm Sarah Lane.
From Columbus, Ohio, I'm Robb Dunewood.
And I'm the show's producer, Roger Chang.
We've got a lot to talk about. It's a big U.S. election day here in the U.S., but turns out there's a lot of other news as well, and that's why you're here. So we're going to give it to you, starting with the quick hits. India's Ministry of Information and Broadcasting issued a notice to Wikipedia questioning its eligibility as an intermediary under Indian law. Issues include editorial bias, inaccuracies, and what it perceives as centralized editorial control. The move follows a heated legal dispute in Delhi's High Court, where judges criticized Wikipedia's open editing model as dangerous and considered suspending its operations in the country altogether. The court is reviewing a defamation suit by Asian News International, or ANI, which aims to identify anonymous editors who have allegedly described ANI as government propaganda.
Nintendo has cut its Switch sales forecast for its fiscal year ending March 2025 to 12.5 million units, down from 13.5 million, as demand fades for its 8-year-old console. Nintendo kept its profit outlook steady for relying on higher margin Switch OLED models and other premium accessories. For Q2, the company saw a 23% increase in operating profit, reaching about $1.06 billion alongside a 14% revenue rise, in part due to strong demand for top franchises and the OLED model. Nintendo has said in the past that the Switch successor will be announced by March 2025.
The clock is ticking, Nintendo, on that one. OpenAI announced that Caitlin Kalinowski, former hardware lead at Meta for its AR glasses project, will now lead OpenAI's robotics division. Kalinowski's experience points to OpenAI's goals of integrating AI into real-world applications.
Netflix is paring down its interactive catalog, leaving a few key titles like Black Mirror Bandersnatch and Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt, Kimmy versus the Reverend. Starting December 1st, most interactive specials will be removed. Netflix says the feature has served its purpose and is shifting focus to other experiments. Interactive originals like Puss in Book and Carmen Sandiego will be cut, marking a quiet end to Netflix's Choose Your Own Adventure style experiments. We'll dive deeper into this tomorrow with Scott on the show.
Oh man, Carmen Sandiego, the kids need that. That's how I know what all my U.S. capitals are. So it was Carmen Sandiego. French and Dutch authorities raided Netflix offices in both Paris and Amsterdam as part of an ongoing tax fraud investigation going back to November of 2022. Allegations include possible misuse of tax regulations and concealing employment practices. This follows other high-profile investigations targeting multinational companies in Europe for similar offenses. Netflix has yet to publicly comment on the raids as of this recording. All right, so let's talk about things flying in the sky, Rob, and how that will help us. Amazon announced it received FAA approval for its new MK30 drone. This lets the company start drone delivery tests in the western Phoenix metro area. Customers in the area are promised deliveries of eligible items weighing up to 5 pounds within an hour. So not anything that's super heavy, but if it's under 5 pounds, within an hour, at least part of the test. The MK30 was first announced by Amazon back in 2022 and can fly as far as twice as far as previous models, and can also operate in light rain, which has been an issue with drone delivery in the past. The FAA approval is a significant step for drones flying beyond visual lines of sight, which is something that drones have had to do in the past. In a similar story, Toyota and Joby Aviation recently conducted a test flight of Joby's electric vertical takeoff and landing, or EVTOL, aircraft, making it the first time that Joby's air taxi has flown outside of the U.S. The test was held at Toyota's Higashi Fuji Technical Center in Japan. The hope, obviously, cutting down on commute times in a densely populated area such as Tokyo, making trips like that, that could take hours by car, be achievable perhaps in minutes by air taxi. Now, Rob, Amazon has been trying this for a while. Not a lot of momentum. Unless you're in a very small test area where drone delivery is possible, it really has not come to fruition. We've been talking about this with Amazon for years now, to the point where I was like, they're just not going to do it. Now, Joby and Toyota testing commuter EVTOLs. So I ask you, are we finally inching toward our sky future?
I don't know how close we are to it, but I do know this. We are going to continue to inch to it until we get to it. It's just efficient. If you can have a very small vehicle that can take off at the top of a building and get you from point A to point B very quickly, as compared to having to be in rush hour traffic for folks who need to travel, very extensively. I'm thinking, CEOs and, folks who are, just high levels of companies that are trying to get back and forth as quickly and as efficiently as possible. These things just make sense. So, yeah, is it going to be tomorrow that we're going to be, is everybody's going to have a, one of these, on the rooftop? I don't think so. But I do believe we are absolutely going to keep working towards it until it's just a thing. And we look up and we see these things in the sky. Like in every futuristic movie you just see cars just in the sky flying. I think we are eventually going to get to that.
I also, the whole promise right now is, especially, I live in LA, obviously traffic, it's a nightmare. That's LA is known for this. And lots of other cities have similar problems. The whole promise is like, you just elevate and don't deal with that gridlock traffic. And then you get to your destination really quickly. I wonder how long it'll take. I don't think it's going to be tomorrow, but how long it'll take before that conversation just turns into like, do you want to do the air taxi or do you want to do the car? When cars no longer are clogging the freeways to the point that they are because so many people choose to do the air taxi because it's simply faster.
In a matter of years, I think that you just pull your phone out and you will just order a sky taxi to get you from point A to point B the same way you would an Uber today. It'll just be a thing that people just do. You don't even think about it. It's just something that you do. Yeah. The technology is not there yet, but we are inching towards it. So I absolutely believe that we will eventually get there.
Yeah, as somebody who I enjoy a drive. I don't want to drive all day, every day, but if let's say I go and visit my friend Tom, who lives, 10 miles away from me in LA, that's going to take me a while. If I use the freeway on in an off hour, then okay, then I get there pretty quickly. But the freeway is also designed to be like, it's not scenic. You don't stop for an ice cream. You just want to get there as fast as possible. That's what highways and freeways are for. And I feel like the whole promise of the air is that, times a million, right? You don't just sort of like drop off, and get gas on the way or, pick up a snack. You are truly trying to get from point A to point B as fast as possible.
I think, I'm just going to interject, I think this will only work as long as they can maintain the safety confidence of the public that would use this. So people who might be too young may not realize, but back in the 60s, late 60s, early 70s, there used to be a heliport on top of, I'm trying to remember which building down in the Midtown Manhattan, and you could take a quick flight over to LaGuardia or JFK. And it was very simple. You just boarded a helicopter and you would be able to skip the traffic. You didn't take the subway, no TADs, no traffic, no nothing, no tolls. You just end up where you needed to.
In the 1960s?
Late 60s. Yeah, it was a helicopter service from Manhattan to the airport.
But for people who could afford such a thing.
Oh yeah, it was not a cheap option, but
this was not like
either you were minted or your company decided you needed to be somewhere right away. Airfare back then was crazy. So if you were on it, you were obviously a very important person or had a very important job. But it only took one accident for people to really go, hey, it had an accident and it crashed, and unfortunately, there were fatalities, and that was enough to scare people away from that, and to the point where that business model was no longer, it couldn't turn a profit. There was no way to make money flying people over. All this works is you can have the most amazing eVTOL technology, whatever. You need to maintain that belief of safety in the public that's going to use it. As soon as one of those has an accident and falls from the sky, you're going to have to do a lot of explaining, or you're going to have a lot of safety features, or just fly at a lower altitude. But I think that maybe we'll get to the point where people are a little more comfortable with it. But remember, air safety is still on the top of people's mind after a crash, even though statistically flying is still the safest mode of transportation.
So Roger, here's what I think about that. I think that the eVTOLs, I think it'll be freight and cargo will be used much more soon, much more quickly than it will be for people, because I think that once that's going to be way more cost effective. And there's way more times when you need to get this part to the airport in 11 minutes so it can make this flight to get across the country to fix an oil spill or something like that. I think those kind of things are going to happen much sooner, because you don't have, they still need to be extremely safe, but there's not people on them. These are just robots that are flying cargo from point A to point B. And I think that you're going to see that relatively soon.
It's simpler. There's no people involved. And because there's no people involved, your insurance rates are going to go down trying to insure that aircraft.
I know, Rob, the idea of Amazon delivering things to you sounds a little bit simpler than it does to me, because I'm like, I have like a 60-pound, cat litter box. Like, the drone is not going to like drop that off in front of my house. There's just no way. That's why I feel like Amazon understands the challenges of figuring out drone delivery, because it really only works in certain regions. The whole idea of like, it'll drop it off in your backyard. It's like, well, lots of people don't have backyards, or, live in, complicated dwellings type thing, where that just isn't going to work. But yeah, it's sort of like, how close are you to the nearest warehouse?
I'm pretty close to 2. So it is not uncommon that I can order stuff in the morning and get it by the evening, same day. It is pretty common, actually, that it happens for regular things. I can't order something that's obscure that has to actually get shipped in between warehouses before it comes to me. But stuff that's at a distribution center, I can generally get it within 6 or 7 hours if I order it same day. I just see that the drones just, they're going to exacerbate that. It'll be to where you can order stuff and get it in 15, 20 minutes, depending on where you are. So I look forward to it. I
do
look
too.
forward to it.
Yeah.
But we are going to continue to talk about Amazon, because Amazon has launched a new AI-powered tool for Prime Video called X-Ray Recaps. This tool generates personalized summaries of TV seasons, episodes, or even specific parts of episodes, and is designed to help viewers quickly catch up on shows they've paused or forgotten about. The recaps are concise and avoid spoilers, focusing on key plot points and character developments. X-Ray Recaps is currently available on Fire TV devices and will expand to other devices later this year. Initially, X-Ray Recap supports content from Amazon MGM Studios, with plans to include more titles in the future. And I can tell you that I believe that Amazon built this feature just for me, because it solves such a issue. I regularly will watch 10, 12 episodes of something, and then life happens, and I don't come back to it for 18 months, 2 years. Totally. And then when I do come back, it's like, crap, where did I leave off at? Or what was happening? I can't remember. So I end up watching the same 12 episodes that I watched the first time, and I get to 12 episodes, and I'm like, let's go do something else. And I can never get past those initial 12. So if this just gets me into episode 13 of stuff that I actually want to watch, I am all for it. And I cannot wait until they move this beyond just a Fire Stick.
This is, I know this feature is personally for you, Rob, but I also feel like I will benefit from this. I cannot tell you how many times, same thing. I watch a season, or maybe like 3/4 of a season, and I just, then I start, there's too many other things to watch, or I'm just doing other things, whatever it is. And I go back to it. And even if I just start to watch from where I left off, I'm like, I don't remember that guy's name. I don't know what they did yesterday. And so I'll sometimes search like various like Wikimedia, posts being like, here's what happened in episode 1, season 1 type thing, which can be helpful. But it's not tailored to me. And sometimes it's, I kind of go like, yeah, I might as well just watch it again, if I'm going to do this. So I wonder how it does get tailored to you. Like, is it, did you pause it in a certain place where they're like, you're not going to remember who murdered who kind of thing?
I would imagine, yeah. I mean, this is Amazon, so they're clearly collecting data on what you're watching. And I imagine that it just keeps track of where you left off. And the other thing that you mentioned, that you have gone and you've read recaps and stuff. The problem with those is that they often will give you the spoilers. They'll let you know what happens, which makes you not really want to watch it in the first place. Mm-hmm. This is, like I said, this is a feature. I don't want to, tell Amazon too much, but I might have paid for this because there is a series that I'm watching right now. I don't know if it's on Amazon Prime or not, but it's called Continuum. And I remember watching it years ago when it came on actual television, just regular TV, when you tuned in at 8:00 to watch it. And I said, you know what? I found it on streaming. I want to watch it again, but I can't remember how far into it I got. I know I didn't complete it, but I know that I was well into at least season 1, maybe into season 2. So I had to go back and watch. And it's like, as you're watching, you remember, oh yeah, I remember this. Oh yeah, I remember that. So you try to fast forward. I think these types of summaries that X-Ray Recaps would give you would be perfect for that, to where I can just read and say, oh yeah, I remember that. That refreshes my memory. I can go to season 2. I don't need to go back into season 1. It gives me what I need to know.
Or this was that pivotal scene that they're going to reference now that you just, you need to like, just kind of like re-jog your memory type thing.
Exactly.
I've got the season 2 of Severance, which is an Apple TV Plus show. I loved season 1 very much. Season 2, there's a trailer out. It's coming out in January. There's been a whole, writer's strike, and it's been a while. So I remember loving the show, but I remember not that many details about, I just remember that I loved it. I remember certain things, but the overall kind of like, yeah, like what happened, what was the big cliffhanger, in the penultimate episode? I don't remember that. So this would be such a great thing. I can either watch it again, which, hey, if you like a show, enough, then you might do that anyway, just because you want to, or I could read about it. But to have like a little, like, remember, okay, that's so-and-so, and this was that scene, and now you're up to date. Most of the time, that's all I need.
Yeah, there's a show on Amazon Prime. I think it's called Bosch Legacy. And I watched all 7 seasons of the regular Bosch, and then I watched maybe the first 2/3 of the first season of Bosch Legacy, and I want to go back to it, but I can't remember where I left off. So I know I'm at the end of season 1, so I'll just probably go like 2/3 in and start watching from there and go on. This is another area where this would just make it so easy to figure out where I left off and then pick up right where I left off. So I mean, it's a great feature. This is
I love
you don't
it.
Hear me say I love Amazon, but this is one of the reasons why I have an Amazon Prime account.
Features like this are they're meant for me as well. I mean, it will not even be like, oh, it's been 2 years since I watched, season 1 and I don't even really know if I finished. It'll be last night I, got comfy after dinner and I slept through that whole episode. And then, I'm kind of like, I'm sort of like, okay, yeah, next episode, because I've seen all of these episodes and I'm like, what happened? I want Amazon to be like, you skipped it.
Yeah.
We know you did. And that's why you don't know what you're doing right now.
Great feature, Amazon. Roll it out beyond the Fire TV. You have a lot of people who watch your stuff on things other than Fire TV. So please roll this out quickly.
Yeah, and this is Amazon MGM Studios to start with. I'm sure they'll get some feedback and figure out how to roll it out more widely. But this is the sort of thing where I consider this to be just a feature that everybody has 5 years from now.
Yeah.
It's like, do you need a recap? Instead of like on the last season of such and such show, and then you see like it's like it'll be tailored to you
Tailored to
and what
you.
what you care about. Yeah. And
This is one of those features where people who have other streaming services, once they get it, you won't have people saying, "Oh, so you stole this from Amazon." It's like, no, this is going to be really cool wherever it shows up.
Indeed. Well, if you think this is cool, you think it's not cool, you have ideas or thoughts on anything that we talk about, do give it a conversation piece in our Discord. You can join by linking to a Patreon account at patreon.com/DTNS. Go Discord. Perplexity CEO Aravind Srinivas stirred up a little controversy by offering AI services to the New York Times. This was during an ongoing strike by the New York Times' tech workers. The NYT Tech Guild initiated the strike Monday, November 4th, so as of this recording, just a day before, looking for wage increases, better working conditions, more flexibility around the whole idea of returning to office, things that that guilds and the such want to do. Srinivas's offer came as an ex post, which said, in response to NYT editor A.G. Slosberger expressing disappointment as far as the strike went, quote, "Perplexity is on standby to help ensure your essential coverage is available to all through the election. DM me anytime." So you might say, good faith offer, something more sinister. Lots of people have lots of thoughts about this. Depends on who you ask, obviously. Srinivas followed up his offer in a subsequent post that read, "It would be bad for the country if NYT.com were down on election day. Everyone should pitch in to help." To be clear, the offer was not to replace journalists or engineers with AI, but to provide technical infrastructure support on a high traffic day. All right, so lots to unpack here. We've got an AI company offering to cover striking workers. A lot of people are going to have problems with that. If you're part of a union, you're going to have a problem with that.
Scabby. It's so scabby.
Well,
I'm going to go on a limb and say that Aravind probably doesn't have people or know people who are part of unions, because this just doesn't sit right. I'm from the Midwest. All of my parents, both of my parents, all of my grandparents, every aunt and uncle that I have either worked at a car plant or a steel mill. When I was a young kid.
You are familiar with the unions.
I am familiar with the union, and this will not play well where I grew up.
Yeah. So you've got that angle. You've already got a lot of workers. This has been a conversation. We talk about this on the show. Of people saying, can AI replace us? Now, in this particular scenario, the workers that are striking at the New York Times are technical workers, IT department, that kind of thing. So it's not the journalists and the bylines necessarily, but it's still very, very essential people who make the whole machine run. Now, to be clear, NYT.com not down. I've been looking all day. It's not down. It's probably not going to go down. But it's also one of world's biggest publications. That would be a big deal if that happened. And yes, we are on, the precipice of deciding who the next US president is going to be. So that is, this is a big day. It's a big day for internet infrastructure in general. Also, if you recall, the New York Times sent Perplexity and others a cease and desist letter back in October over scraping New York Times articles for use by AI models without asking permission and or paying for them. So there's a little bit of a contentious relationship already going on here. And I feel like, the CEO firing off hey, do you need anything? We're here to help. That could be taken as he's just trying to be a good guy or seem like a good guy. But if that really did happen, what would it look like?
If this was an honest attempt, it wouldn't have happened over social media. You're the CEO of Perplexity. Yeah. You can get to someone who can help you make, who has decision-making power at the New York Times without having to do this on social media. So that was, to me, that is just a publicity stunt that I don't know is going for him the way that he thought it was going to go. Because like I said, a lot of people this is falling sour on them. The other part of it, though, when it comes to the IT part, you don't have to make a public plea to maybe Perplexity does, because they are not Amazon. They are not, OpenAI. They are not, they're not Google. They're not that kind of big. So maybe they have to do these kind of stunts to, hey, we can do this kind of stuff too. So we're raising our hand. But at the end of the day, AI is going to come in and start doing these things. Now, it's not, I would imagine that that the Times is, going to be a little, more adept at, we're not going to do it while our people are on strike, but they are going to look at using AI to do things that people currently can do. And in many ways, probably do them better. A lot of the stuff that could be done with, for these technical people is monitoring. AI honestly is going to be better at that. It doesn't get sleepy. It doesn't miss stuff. It doesn't get tired. It just pattern matches. And it's very, very, very good at doing that. So regardless of whether the CEO of Perplexity is proposing it or other companies are talking about it, these kind of things are going to come into companies, and it is going to happen. And it's kind of like, conveyor belts, in assembly lines ultimately made production and manufacturing better. It sped it up, but ultimately you need less people for it. I don't know that you can get around that. So hopefully that as these AIs are coming in, you're upscaling your people that are necessary to run the AI to make sure it's doing the job that it needs to do.
Yeah, in a very dystopian version of the future, I can see a company being like, "All right, workers, you want to strike? We'll just use our AI model. Maybe not as good as all y'all, but if you're gone, then we don't have to like have people cross the line, that kind of thing, because it's just an AI model. Now I don't know. I'm not saying that that's what's going to happen here at all, but I can see that being a kind of like, all right, well, if you want to walk off the job, we do have a backup, and it's not another human.
Yeah, it's I'm still stuck on the way that he did this, because it's so scabby. I mean, they have a word for it, so it's that part. Like I said, I don't know that that's working, because I'm having a very visceral reaction to it when I actually got upset. It's like, dude, seriously, this is what you're doing while people are striking? That's what I thought. I didn't think about the technology part. I thought about the people part, but yeah. Once the people part is settled, companies are going to use AI to do things that people do. And we're going to have to wrap our heads around that.
Indeed.
So, folks, if you'd like to send us any feedback, you can do so at feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. If you are befuddled by exchanging currency when traveling abroad, Chris Christensen has a handy app for you.
This is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler with another Tech in Travel Minute. I'm heading out on Sunday for a trip that will go to 5 different countries and a total of 4 different currencies: the Albanian lek, the Macedonian dinar, the euro, and the Turkish lira. And if I'm trying to keep track of what things are worth, then an app that is useful to have on my phone is XE, which is basically a currency conversion app, so you can figure out how much is $20, because in these various currencies, it goes from 1895 euros to up to 2,000 Albanian lek. XE is a useful app, and this is Chris Christensen from Amateur Traveler.
Well, first of all, Chris, I'm jealous. That sounds like a really fun trip. And yeah, I've totally been there. Been like, I want the latte. I just want to know what I'm paying, in US dollars type thing. And yeah, the more you travel, the more you need stuff like this. So thank you, as always. Speaking of fun things, in our latest episode of Apple Vision Show, Amos and I talk Mac Mini, new MacBook Pro designs, what the future of Apple Vision Pro looks like, and some fun stuff that we've been watching lately. Get subscribed now at applevisionshow.com. Patrons, stick around for the extended show, Good Day Internet. Yes, it's election day in the US, and Apple News is on the case. We're talking about consumption choices and how we all prefer to get our news on big days like today.
You can also catch the show live Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 2000 UTC. Find out more at dailytechnewsshow.com/live. We'll be back tomorrow talking more about reasons for Netflix abrupt removal of all of its interactive titles with Scott Johnson. See you tomorrow, folks.
The DTNS family of podcasts, helping each other understand.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.